All right, so if you haven't checked out the show Billions yet on Showtime, you really are missing out. It's what I would describe really as just a really fun show. It's exciting. It's got tons of like insider stuff. The writers just go to town with all these like Easter eggs and insider like quotes and things. And I know that tons of the writing on it just goes completely above my head, but Billions is a show featuring Damian Lewis, who became famous with shows such as Homeland and Band of Brothers. And then we've got David Constable as Wag's awesome role. Paul Giamatti, who is his foil. Damian Lewis is a hedge fund operator who's worth billions, and Paul Giamatti is his nemesis for the first couple seasons. And this was really impressive. There's some trading stuff in it because it has to do with this guy running a hedge fund, and so that is interesting. And I applauded the show a couple seasons ago because they actually did talk about the VIX and about I think they even said something about XIV in there, but they were saying, oh, well, the market was going to downturn and I bought my VIX calls or something like that really showed something about the market. And I'm sure with, they've got Andrew Ross Sorkin, who is, he's one of the creators of the show and helped finance the show. And he's one of those guys who is on fast money. So obviously they've got good people to help them with the market stuff. However, I feel like they dropped the ball in this week's episode. It was called Overton something. But this week's episode, they were faced with this thing where they basically, it was told, like, this guy found out that this natural gas plant was going to explode a little bit ahead of time. And so the story was basically, we have to get out of our positions in natural gas companies before this news hits the tape that this thing is going to explode. And I didn't really think this plot made sense in this case. If if one natural gas thing explodes, isn't that going to make the price of natural gas go up as opposed to down? And aren't most natural gas companies, aren't they proxies for the price of natural gas? That's the thing, as I was thinking that, well, a thing blowing up would make the other natural gas go up. B, if you're long all these individual names in natural gas, couldn't you just either buy puts in a natural gas ETF or just sell short the natural gas ETF or buy an inverse ETF to cover your positions? You wouldn't have to go to each individual stock and try to sell it. You could just buy the ETF that I think let's see which one it is. I'm just pulling it up right now, but Boyle, I think, is a leveraged ETF for natural gas. So couldn't you just trade the ETF? I know I'm getting technical here, but if you're gonna present a technical show, you got to try to get it right. A. B, if there's two hedge funds, are they both going to have like all these long positions in companies that trade natural gas? It makes it seem like every hedge fund is just long every possible commodity and every possible stock in the market. I mean, does it turn out that actually both of these competing hedge funds are going to be long all these individual names in natural gas? That's the second thing. The third thing is if you're trying to sell these issues and your system goes down and you do have to go over the phone, I can understand going over the phone and calling some of these desks. But the thing is once you sold like a bunch of shares of one name, wouldn't they start to fade you? It doesn't make sense. There's no way that you would, they could have picked like a less liquid situation, like some other sector or something. And I think part of that, like calling up these people and convincing them to make a market for you in certain things could work in some financial products, but in this case, it just doesn't make sense to me. And the other thing is that, like, if you called a friend who had a brokerage account because you had no other access to the market and said, "Okay, can you sell something for me?" How many friends are going to have like the buying power to short 150,000 shares of some company? That's what you're basically asking them to do. If you're long this and you want them to get out of it for you, you're going to have them short it first and then transfer the shares to your account. So these aren't things that you can do secretively behind the scenes. And that, like I said, they've been so good before at kind of being somewhat accurate in their portrayal of the markets, that this time and I know it's just a fun show, but they've been so accurate before that they really felt like they dropped the ball this time. As far as this natural gas thing goes. And I know they're just trying to have fun, and I know after like any show, after like 3 good seasons, you start to like kind of stretch a little bit for plot points. And I still love all of the stuff and the brinksmanship and the fun of like insider New York stuff that's in this show, but it just rang a little bit hollow this time. And I also thought that his wife's reaction to him going public with with his S&M stuff, I think that she's supposed to be this psychiatrist and everything, and it would seem to me that she's the one who thinks outside of the box the most and who can, is really in touch with herself and everything. It doesn't ring true to me that she would be the one that would be like, oh, so embarrassed that she couldn't handle a situation psychologically. It would seem to me that she would be the one who is best prepared to handle a psychological situation like the humiliation that Chuck put her through in that story this week. So if you haven't seen the show and you don't know what the heck I'm talking about, it's definitely worth watching. But I just think the trading situations this week didn't really ring true for me. If you're long natural gas and they blow up a big supplier, that should make the other natural gas be bid because there's less supply. B, if you are long all these individual names, why not just sell the natural gas ETF or buy the inverse leverage ETF or buy calls in the inverse leverage ETF to cover yourself? If you're going to be accurate, then be accurate. Anyways, maybe I'm too nitpicky. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.